Everything is awesome. V-shaped housing recovery. Things are great. Go out and buy that house. Get your low interest rate mortgage, and buy at the top of the market. You go and do that. Okay. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. And today was an interesting day, and the reason being because it's I call it data day. And today, the National Association of Realtors released their information, their existing home sales report for June 2020. So we're going to see what that's all about here. And of course, we're going to see how things respond. My name is Randy Patrick, your host, putting the realism back in real estate. So welcome. If you're not already a subscriber, if you could do me a favor and help my channel grow, please subscribe. I'd be most appreciated. All right, let's get into this right away right now. And this is 2 videos, 2 days in a row here. So things are moving for me, I guess you could say. So of course, what do we find today is that the Wall Street Journal, every other Bloomberg, every other paper out there, every other news outlet, etc., is picking up on this. So existing home sales rose 20.7% in June. Okay, that's a significant number. That's a big number. So this is between May existing home sales volume and June's home sale volume. So we could see that we had a little bit of a rise there, 20%. This basically is like the largest or biggest monthly increase in records going back to what I think 1968 it says there. So there you go. So we have a record, we'll call it month-to-month recovery, so to speak. And you guys realize I'm being a little bit sarcastic here because that's in my nature. Again, existing home sales surged nearly 21% in June, the highest monthly gain on record. So that's big time for everybody. And what do we got here? Another one, existing home sales rebound by most ever in June, but miss expectations despite record low interest rates. So right down there where that little red arrow is, guess what? You can see that little bit of a V. So I know what's going to happen is a lot of the media is going to pick up on this, and they're going to talk about how housing is very strong, everything is awesome, everything is wonderful, and we got nothing to worry about. Well, I beg to differ when it comes to that, but hey, that's why we are all people that can have our own opinions, and we can try to figure out what's going to go on in the future. So that's kind of your big news right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right into NAR's information, and because I have that up here, so give me a sec while we get her loaded. All right. Oh, yes, and that's my V-shaped recovery. So, that looked like a little V, but, a month-to-month increase. But realize that month-to-month increase was substantial, but it's because, the previous months of, April and May had tanked so badly that when you have, a little more activity, it's going to show a large rebound. But, month-to-month looks good. We're still year over year about 11, almost 12% less than where we were last year. So, again, looking at the short term looks great. Year over year, we're off the mark for quite a bit if you think about it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go through now. NAR, National Association of Realtors, on their website puts out their existing home sales statistical report. We're going to run through this and talk a little bit about it right now. So, here's kind of your V again. So, total existing home sales seasonally adjusted annual rate. So when you see the acronym SAR, that's seasonally adjusted annual rate. So what National Association of Realtors, or what NAR does, they like to talk in an annual capacity. So they say, hey, homes are tracking at 5.5 million or 4.9 or 5.2, whatever. So what they do is they basically take the information and they extrapolate and they go, hey, based on where our current month is and historically where we project our full year sales to be. So you can see how, basically, once February hit, we kind of took a pretty big dive. We were tracking about between 5.5 million and 6 million sales of existing homes across the country over the year. And we can see that, bang, we actually dropped below 4 million a couple of months ago, and we've popped up now to probably about 475, somewhere in that range. Okay, so, again, this is, when you look at things in short term, they always look more dramatic than they do on a long-term basis. But, it's still substantial from the drop that we had to where things are. Sales activity has picked up. Why? It's the month of June. So what happened in the month of June? Well, if we look back at what happened, number one, June is always a good month for people who are looking to buy homes. seasonally, because this is start of the summer selling season. So you've got that May, June, July, I guess you could say, component where people are out looking for homes, and we know that. Also, a lot of the many states who were under lockdown or had more severe restrictions lifted some of those restrictions due, with the COVID-19 pandemic. Many states lifted restrictions during the month of June, so more people, possibly went out. But I actually, now that I think about that doesn't make sense that I'm saying that to you, because this is closing. So this would have been stuff that happened probably April or May. So again, just disregard what I said there. That could affect something down the road. Now that I think about it a little more directly here, but anyway, the point is that people were either penting up and they got to buy, or it's a lot of online virtual stuff, etc. Also, with respect to having lower interest rates, people's buying power has increased. So guess what? People are going to try to do what they can to get homes. I know a lot of people don't want to purchase at the peak, and I understand that. But there are just times where people, they can't help it. They have to buy for moving, relocation, family reasons, whatever it is. They got to buy and sell, and they got to do it regardless of what's happening in the real estate industry or in the market at that point in time. So please remember that that's the way things go. Obviously, the existing home sales price has moved up a little bit. The average going up about 3%, 3.5%. You can see it's slowly been tracking up as the year goes on here. Existing home sales median price percent change year over year. So the far right is the percent change. It was 3 and change. I think it was 3.5%. I'll look at that in one of the slides coming here. But you can see how again, May, you sort of with May's I guess it's a year over year increase in price point that was lower. We have a little bit more gain, 3.5%, but still, looks like May and June are the two slowest or least gaining months over the past few months there. So we can keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at this as far as existing home sales percent change year over year. So this is, again, we're talking sales volume right here. You can see that we are the past few months, which would be June, May, and April on the right of the screen there, on the right of the chart, we're still below sales activity dramatically. So obviously March, it was tracking downward. Well, it's been tracking downward since January. You can see 10.4, 8.8, 7.1, and then just barely 1 in March when the pandemic was hitting. Obviously, April dropped. May was our biggest drop, and June was 11% drop. So that's the year-over-year existing home sales volume. So clearly, the past 3 months have seen a big decrease in sales on the real estate side. And again, this is existing home sales. Market conditions. So we talk about market conditions, and NAR breaks down things so we can see what's happening with certain market segments. So first-time home buyers basically remain the same. They're about 35% of the marketplace. Sales to investors dropped, by 1 point from year over year from last year, 9%. Cash sales remained stagnant, same as the year before. Distressed sales were at 3% with respect to 2%. On the distressed sales side, I like to always mention that distressed sales are made up of short sale closings and REO, which is called real estate owned. And that's when the bank takes back a home via foreclosure, and then they put it in their inventory and they put it back out to market via the MLS, and it's sold via the MLS. So that's what an REO sale is. So those short sales and REOs are considered distressed property because they're not true market sales. They're distressed because of the nature of the situation they're in. So therefore, you have a little bit of you should get some of a price break in that. But I want to point out that that's a very that number really is either 3 or 2%. Never increases any more than that, and it's just because there's not that much distress volume via the MLS that's out there. There's a lot of distress going on. Other investors, wholesalers, off-market buyers getting their hands on a lot of that distress stuff. So some of that, majority of that doesn't even hit the MLS, where it can be a retail sale. You see what I'm saying? So again, the captured via the MLS distress sales is very little on a monthly basis. But herein lies the opportunity, which we should talk about in the next little while as well. Okay, existing home sales by region. The South, 46%, the West, 20%, Northeast, 11%, Midwest, 23%. So clearly the South is leading the pack there with what's going on. If you're talking about activity by region, so existing home sales, that was home sales by region. They rose 4.3%. In the Northeast, they rose 11.1% in the Midwest. And again, this is month to month. Existing home sales in the South jumped 26%, big jump there, and existing home sales in the West ascended 31.9%. So at least there, you can see that the West and the South had more significant sales activity jumps compared to the previous month, and then this is how it plays out overall by all sales across the regions. Okay, so again, you can see which areas are dominating. Housing supply at a national level. So one of the things that we have an issue with is housing supply, and the issue is lack thereof. So we're tracking at about a 4-month supply. Talking to various people, you may hear different opinions out there, but they say a balanced market is about 6 to 7 months worth of inventory. Anything above that becomes a buyer's market. Anything below that is lower inventory and becomes a seller's market. So it's average 4 across the board. This is nationally. We know that there are various metro locations across the country that can have more or less or the same. It just depends on where you live. I know in my market, the last month, we were actually under 2 months of inventory. We had 1.9%. So that's remarkably low for, that was our record low for our area as well, too. So that really hasn't changed. So again, some of the hotter markets or just some of the more active markets are going to have, again, lower inventory, which, as works its way through into more competition for listings, higher prices, stuff like that. All right. Sales by price range. So this is always interesting to see where the sales are happening. So clearly, the 250 to 500K range is where the bulk of sales are falling. The next value is 100 to 250K range. You can see 35% of the sales are going there. Obviously, when you go up to 500,000 and above, 500,000 to 750 is 11%, 750 to a million is 4%, a million and above is 3%, and then that 0 to 100K is only 6%. So really, you can see where the sweet spot is as far as where the bulk of the deals are being had. Purchases at the 250 to 500 range. A lot of buyers want to buy in the 100 to 250 range, but sometimes they're just getting priced out of the market, and it's difficult to find inventory in that area as well too. So, but this is where you find it. When we don't see many sales at the 1 million above. I know there's going to be there's already price decreases going on in the luxury marketplace, so that should manifest itself in the next couple months with more sales in the $1 million plus, you could say, range. Right. Percent change in sales from a year ago by price range. So as you can see, looks like where the bulk of the sales was, which was at 250 to 500K, actually increased from last year. So more sales in that range happened. The rest of the sales ranges, we're seeing less sales than the year before, and that's most likely due to an inventory shortage. So again, there you go. The distribution seems to all make sense. You look at the numbers. To summarize things up, existing home sales tracking a seasonally annual adjusted rate of 4.72, which is about $1 million off where they'd like it to be. So they're really, NAR likes to, I think NAR's prediction was 5.6 to 5.7 million earlier in the year for 2020. So we're about 1 million sales, 1 million existing home sales off that number on an annualized basis. Realize that this is existing homes. These numbers, and NAR is not reporting, they're not reporting new home sales direct from builders or subdivisions or things like that. So that's not reflecting anything that's done by a builder is not being reflected in these numbers. Now, of course, if the builder puts it on the MLS, sure, they may do that occasionally here and there. But as we know, most builders who are doing communities or developments are selling through their own channels, model home channels, etc. They don't put their stuff via the MLS. 4.0 months worth of inventory, which is lower than previous June. So we dropped from 4.3 to 4.1 to 4.0. And again, the median sales price, which is the median price right in the middle for all transactions across the board, year over year at 295.3, up 3.5%. So we're still seeing some price points, just gaining a little bit. Not double-digit growth. Growth is slowing down. Price points are slowing down, and again, we'll see how all this kind of manifests. I said, we're probably in a time period now where we're going to see some activity because people are getting out with some of the restrictions being released. We know that buyers, or I guess you could say, mortgage applications have increased. So it's directly proportional. So when rates drop and go lower, more mortgage applications are happening on a weekly basis. How long it takes those applications to but what we don't hear from the Mortgage Bankers Association, I mean, you can apply for a loan. So is that loan going to be a refi, or is there going to be a purchase? So again, just so if there's a lot of activity, doesn't mean it's going to be purchase. It could be a refi. But also, if you apply for a mortgage, that doesn't tell us whether you're approved for a mortgage. So that's one thing we don't know. And secondly, for those people that apply for a mortgage, what we don't know is how many of those people that actually become homeowners. So in other words, they apply, they buy a home, they close, they secure a mortgage. So those are statistics that we don't get to see. We just get to see seeing here the front end stuff. So of course, the information is designed to be encouraging to the marketplace, and I get that. However, how that, again, I guess you could say, filters through the real estate transaction system and all those people who applied, out of that, how many actually, how many are rejected, how many actually become homeowners, we don't know. And that's, I guess, information that not privy to us, or it's not released by the Mortgage Bankers Association or mortgage companies, etc. So just be aware of that. Now, commentary here, guys. So of course, this is from one of the articles earlier, the Wall Street Journal, and they're quoting some of the NAR stuff. So really, sales of previously owned homes rose almost 21% in June over the prior month to a seasonally adjusted rate of 4.72 million. According to data from the National Association of Realtors released today, being Wednesday, the biggest monthly increase on record going back to 1968. As I mentioned, it's the biggest increase because we had probably some of the biggest, tanks or drops in activity the previous month. So, it's how can I put it? You're good on one hand, you're bad on the other hand, etc. Right? The rise in home sales follows other recent bullish indicators, such as rising new home sales, robust home builder activity, and a flood of mortgage applications. So again, we're going to ride the wave of everything is awesome and V-shaped recovery and things are looking good. Interesting to note here, though, driving home sales are apartment renters seeking more space, young families moving to the suburbs, and wealthy city dwellers looking for a second home, brokers and economists say. At the same time, the supply of homes for sale remains low, with the pandemic making potential sellers cautious about letting people into their homes to tour. So for open houses and stuff like that. Now, obviously, part of the, what we've learned over the past little while is, yes, people who are living in apartment complexes or high rises, whatever, are starting to go, you know what, I don't want to be in densely populated areas. I may want to move out and get my own place. So, if they can afford it, and with interest rates being low, when interest rates are low, your buying power to purchase property is essentially stronger. Doesn't mean you're paying less for it. Just means you can buy more and go deeper into debt based on lower rates, etc., on your monthly payments. So people are looking to leave apartment complexes, not renewing leases, getting their own places now, just because it's what they want to do, and it's also more of a safety factor. Young families are moving to the suburbs, so same thing. Let's go out of the city where we can maybe cash out of the city or leave high rent or high price real estate, going to the burbs, suburbs, or even like it's called the exurbs now, exurbs, which is farther than the suburbs. So you're going like your quasi rural, and you're going to the outskirts of the suburbs. So you're getting essentially more bang for your buck. Clearly, with respect to some of the changes in workforce and how we can conduct business now, and a lot of organizations and companies saying, yeah, you can work from home, etc. So that's more attractive. So people are let's go farther out. I can go farther out of the city, farther away from my office, because I'm not going in as much, and I want my money to go farther for me with respect to buying property, cheaper property as well. So that's interesting. A lot of people who live in densely populated areas like in New York City, what we found is that they're buying second homes. They're going out to the Hamptons. They're going, out, maybe to Connecticut, or they're coming to Florida. So they're, it's kind of like, hey, if we can get out of the city and we can, you could say, be safe or safer and work or live away until things kind of, quiet down and get back to normal, we'll do that. So we certainly see how some of the, the residency and where people want to live is shifting, as time goes on here. So now, according to our friend Lawrence Yun, the chief economist for National Association of Realtors, the housing market is hot. It's red hot. So it's hot, guys, okay? So realize that. And I love that. So as we were coming out of the lockdown, we see this backlog of buyers trying to take advantage of the record low mortgage rates. And as I always mentioned, I don't know him personally, clearly. I like to always sort of make fun of what he has to say. 1.4 million real estate agents are realtors. So realize that, the term, just in case you don't know, the term realtor is not somewhat synonymous with real estate agent. So you can be a real estate agent, but you have not subscribed to NAR and joined them as a member. So therefore you can't call yourself a realtor, and you can't use the R logo and things like that. So there's an annual fee. So so roughly NAR represents about 1.4 million realtors, real estate agents that have a membership across the U.S. Just so you understand the difference there. So even with the jump in home sales, monthly activity remains well below the typical level seen before the spring lockdown. June sales marked an 11.3% decrease from a year earlier. Many potential buyers remain on the sidelines, concerned about job security or health risks related to visiting homes. So so if you're in a situation where you're not sure your job is going to be there in the next couple of months or a few weeks or in the near future, are you going to go out and you're going to pay premium and upbid a property just to have your job lost in 6 months and then not able to pay your mortgage? Probably not. So there's going to be some tempering of the activity in the home buying arena here. Also, I do believe that people are waiting to see what's going to happen with price points because, again, let's not forget. I mean, this is the fun thing about, or I don't know if you use the word fun, but this is, the news is, we focus on the news of today and we forget the news that happened yesterday or last week, etc. So, remember a couple weeks ago, I put out a video that was a synopsis of CoreLogic. And CoreLogic, which, if you know who CoreLogic is, they're a big data company, and they're involved in a lot of, real estate valuation and mortgages and stuff like that. They actually came out and said, we're going to see home prices decline by May of next year, 6.6% on average across the board. So that's kind of interesting. So, we're going to have, again, the pro housing. Again, please understand, I'm pro housing. I'm pro not paying more than you should for housing and being, reasonable pricing housing, right? Because then more people get to buy and and can live and get their dream and everything, right? That's what you want: stability in your life and the marketplace, etc. So the point though is that, the CoreLogic being the first group that came out and said, hey, we're going to see some decreases in the future. To me, that was very substantial. I don't think everybody maybe appreciates how substantial that is. Not many groups with that much clout that are involved in as many aspects of real estate as CoreLogic is involved with have come out and said that, And remember, what's CoreLogic involved with? All right, have you heard something before? It's the S&P, CoreLogic, Case-Shiller U.S. Home Price Index. Okay, so they're part of that. All right, I don't know whether they technically own that or not, but that's the name of the actual index. So there you go, guys. So anyway, just thought it'd be interesting. And there's where is that a little V recovery there? I don't know if you'd call it a recovery over a month, but we'll have to see. Now, just to reference that, so and the problem with that article is that when it came out, CoreLogic said 6.6 decline. They only mentioned 2 locations. They said Vegas, they predicted 20.1% decline in home values by May of next year, which is, I think, substantial. To me, that'd be a place if I was going to buy, I go, okay, good, I have some hope here. San Diego, they mentioned, the bottom only had a 1.3% decline. So because it's a tougher coastal market in California. We didn't hear about anything else. So just me putzing around the internet here, I've been able to pick up a few extra pieces of information just looking at articles here and there. So again, they didn't produce a big list of what's declining. They just sort of gave us a top end value, a bottom end value, and guess what? And our average. So Boston, they predicted 11.7% decline. Denver, 9% decline. Washington, D.C., 5.4% decline. L.A. County, a 6.3% decline. Orange County, 5.2% decline. Inland Empire, 2.4% decline. All right. So again, this is all I could really find over the past week looking for more of this information. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could pay $1,000 or whatever for the CoreLogic information in detail. So clearly, we're all not doing that. But my point is, for me, I think that that's a conservative number. So I think 6.6 is conservative. And when I look at these numbers here, like Boston, almost 12%, Vegas, 20%, Denver, 9%. So I'm going to state that these are probably conservative numbers as well. And, if things go as planned, we'll probably see more distress coming forward, which should push some of these numbers down. And also, just how can I put it? Just people are getting tired. I mean, you don't have to pay what you see. You can ask for discounts. You can ask for concessions. You can negotiate. And it's all about inventory, supply and demand. We all know that. That's the basis of how the market works. So if eventually more of this inventory is going to come on, because we're starting to see some cracks happening now, and it will pick up as the months go on, and that's planned. So if CoreLogic comes out and is saying these are decreases and declines, well, how did we get to see the decline in the first place? You see, so there's got to be reasons why property values will drop 20% in Las Vegas. Could be forbearance, could be foreclosure stacking up, could be a lot of things happening. People trying to sell quick and get out while the going's good. Who knows? But again, you got to when they state stuff, there's reasons for that, guys. So again, just thought I want to temper the V-shaped recovery, which we're going to hear people talking about how and then there's articles out there, because I see them, about how housing's not going to have problems and how housing's resilient, etc. Well, you know what? Great. And listen, I don't, if you know what you're doing, you can work in any market and figure it out. But the point is, we know it's overinflated. We know it's expensive. We know we're, 18% above the last housing peak value in 2006. So things have to give way a little bit here and so have to come down. There's no doubt about it. So of course we see that happening with CoreLogic talking about it openly, which to me is a very interesting point. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm going to start firing off some more videos. Lots going on. Number one, I wanted to mention that I've got lots of off-market properties coming in right now. So if we've spoken about you talk, or if you inquired or etc., inquire again. I've got more on the go here. We're just hammering the values out with some of our supply chains now. So definitely some fix and flips, definitely some rentals in my market, which is great. I have a few in different parts of the country as well too. So please keep that in mind, that these are available right now, some good deals. And again, you're going to say, well, why am I buying now at the top of the market? You're not paying top of the market prices, okay? And if it's going to be for cash flow, number one, then you're doing okay. That's going to give you some insulation against any market cycle. And number two, fixing and flipping. Yeah, sometimes you got to be careful. It depends on the market you're in. You got to watch your fix and flip to see whether you're going to get caught down the road, because it takes you roughly 6 months to complete a fix and flip on average, according to Out of Data Solutions. But in certain marketplaces, like for example where I'm at, where I have 1.9 months worth of inventory, I'm pretty sure that anything that we do a fix and flip starting today, we're going to sell and do okay on it down the road, because we just don't have the inventory available. So people are still going to, we're still ahead of that part of the decline curve here where I am in Tampa. All right, guys. Also, short sales. You saw the short sale or the distressed property bar on the sales activity for NAR for June 2020. Talk to me about short sales. That's the other inventory, the shadow inventory piece that no one goes after. It's where all the huge opportunity is. So reach out to me in that. Thank you for the views. Thanks for the likes and comments. Again, as I said, my email's there. Reach out to me. We'll talk. I'm getting in connection with a lot more people now, so it's starting to flow nicely. And we'll be looking forward to doing another video very shortly. So stay tuned. Talk to you guys later.